Vincent Xueming. She is the editor-in-chief and founder of the Tiger Moth Review, a new independent eco-conscious online journal. She co-edited 2 poetry anthologies and is, by profession, a literature educator. She's currently working on her first body of poetry for her MA at NTU. Esther.
Thanks, Matt, for the introduction. Good evening, everyone. All right, so today I'll be reading 3 poems in progress that deal with language, culture, and identity. So the poetry that I write engage with the themes of memory, imagination, and time and place. And before I begin, I would like to share a quote by Jane Hirschfield, who writes in the chapter Poetry and the Mind of Indirection, that language is sought and seeks. The poet pursuing a vessel to hold something known finds what the poem may know that the poet as yet does not. So I'd like you to bear this quote in mind as I read you my 3 poems. Now, the first poem is entitled Lost Tongue. It was written before my MA, and it examines the themes of estrangement and alienation from my paternal South Asian heritage, and it features the use of Sinhala and English. Okay, Lost Tongue. Just as Sujata Bhatt searched for her tongue, to find that she had not one, but 2, the native more foreign than the other, I too long to fill my mouth with the lost vowels and sacred consonants of my mother tongue. Mama Mukakda, how do I translate my desire to connect with the language I inherited in my veins, but never found the sounds for? How can I make sense of strange perfumes that curlicue meaning out of curious lines? Imagine kumak veida. Today, I learned the merit of speaking in idioms and proverbs. For instance, Kanaku kage, sudepenine, igelu namalu. The whiteness of a crane appears only when it flies, which is to say that people realize the value of something only when it is gone. There must be a way to accurately transliterate my sorrow into the sound of regret. But after 2 tries, Google turns sorrow into sorry. As in, I'm sorry, I do not know how to say this. I'm sorry, I lost my tongue. I'm sorry, I only saw the crane in time for it to take flight. The next poem is entitled Inheritance and alludes to Virginia Woolf's quote that we think back through our mothers if we are women. So in a similar vein, inheritance thinks back through the speaker's maternal legacy, and it discovers the self as a palimpsest of sorts. Inheritance. At 32, I am beginning to learn that my story is not my own. My body, a birthing of inherited sorrow. Pointing at a woman in a faded photograph, my mother tells me my great-grandmother was a cripple. I see the wooden stump peeking out from light blue cotton pants where warm flesh should be. I ask my grandmother about her. Grandmother speaks in the lilting tones of Cantonese, slurring her vowels, my mother mediating our broken speech. Something about stepping on a rusty nail, the rot and swell of gangrene. Great-grandmother's body maps the loss my grandmother now inherits, both legs tethered to a wheelchair. Once, during the occupation, grandmother's legs carried her across the causeway, little brother on her back. She was only 7. Now, my mother sits on the floor with her legs stretched out beside mine. Spider veins the color of purple tributaries wrap her calves, skin like parchment from neglect. Her left foot rocking to the steady tap and hum on her vintage Singer, peddling her love into the seams of my dress. Beside her, my feet are overgrown, marked by a river of green. My right foot learned to move to a different kind of rhythm, my heel a pivot. The step and release on the faded brass pedals of my second-hand KKY, my feet a muddy echo of my mother's. Thank you. All right, and the last poem is entitled Dream Fruit, so it's a little different from the two poems that I've read. It explores dreamscape and it blurs the boundaries between the conscious waking self with the sleeping or subconscious self. And also, I guess it searches for the language of dreams, the language and meaning of dreams. And it is written in the form of a sonnet, loosely. Okay, Dream Fruit. I have seen the tree of my dreams, branches dripping with the weight of ripe fruit, shiny and inedible. In dreams, nothing is as it seems. A tree is still a tree, even if its fruits are stones of the semi-precious kind. In dreams, good and evil exist. I tend to have little control over anything. Sometimes, this lack of agency is deadly. I must have wandered off from my tree when the noiseless phantom looters came. But I could not see them, so I could not stop it from happening. Too late. And though she never blamed me, I wake up, always guilty. The pain of unspeakable loss, my inconsolable grief, that striking heat. Thank you. Okay, I'd like to introduce the next speaker, Joanne Tan. So Joanne Tan has traded 10 years of brand management in luxury cosmetics for full-time puree making